Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Wraith, and today I'm going to be going over some defensive tactics / how to hold objectives. Now, you've got down to the objective. Maybe it's the center objective that you want to hold, or any of the other kind of objectives from the objective-based scenarios. But the bottom of the line is, you want to hold that objective at all costs, and this is how you do it. Well, this is how I do it anyway, and this does work with buildings as well. If you have to protect a building, if you know 100% my enemy is going for that building on my board edge, you know how to do it. Or if you seized a building and they've kind of cottoned on that you want to hold that, grab that objective, this is another way you can kind of hold on to it. So this one's quite fun, where you deploy like this in the diagram. Okay, apologies for how poor the quality is of the diagrams. I am getting better at it. I tried to run this on Tabletop Simulator, but unfortunately my laptop is made out of a potato with wires sticking out, so it's really not going to do it, for some odd reason. So yeah, you can have, there's a couple of options with this. So for the evil guys, you literally want to have this kind of crescent shape, just stopping you from getting flanked. And if you've got the points for it, you don't have to have two captains, you can only have one, or one hero in the center. But if the enemy does crash into you and they've only hit the front portion, so the front two guys right out front, you can then start to envelop by using either a heroic move to wrap around them, or you can use cavalry. You don't have to have heroes. But I've stuck a Wraith out front because this is what I do. Because obviously everyone knows the Wraith is -1 to your courage. And if you're playing anything like Angmar or Farharad, you can, they have to take courage tests enabled to even charge you, and at the -1 that's even more helpful. So that's almost another way of stopping them from charging. And then on top of that, you might find yourself in a place where you've got priority, you're going to be moving first, and the enemy will have to move second. You can drop down a cheeky little instill fear, and at -1, you might get a few of them to run away, especially if they're low courage. If they're relatively high courage, you might consider channeling it and force them to take 3d6 on their courage test and discarding the highest of those dice rolls. So that just gives you an even better way of keeping them away. That's more of a late game, either you're about to be broken or they're about to be broken or something like that, and you really don't want them to get into there or anywhere near your objective. You can do that. It's quite tricky, and having a ring Wraith there is just, Wraiths are amazing. I love them. Shame they only have one wound, but hey, we can't have everything, can we? The other option, like I said, is to have cavalry at the wings and just keep them shielded by your infantry. And they're really good for countering enemy cavalry charges as they try and come in and close in on your objective. They're also very good at protecting the flanks of your formation. So yeah, that's one of them that I use. The other one is a little bit cheesy. Okay, I'll give it to you. It is cheesy. And this works especially good for hold ground. You can use it for seize the prize as well. It's not as effective, but I'll go over both. And it's not really got a name. I just kind of call it cannon fodder. So surround the objective, like you see in the image here, okay? And you have to have a pretty hoardy army, okay? So we're playing Moria Goblins, Goblin Town, even Lake Town, anything you can really, really hoard. Serpent Horde can pull this off as well. You can pull it off with most factions, but it really does work when you seriously outnumber your opponent. Because I've got all my lovely cannon fodder, warriors that I really care about, up front. Whilst the objective is still surrounded, I've made a good battle line. They'll have to charge it. It's going to be very hard to flank me and try and get around. Okay? And their only goal is to engage the enemy and die. And it doesn't matter what happens, because if you outnumber your opponent by quite a bit, and you will with factions like Goblin Town especially, the enemy can keep hitting into you, and then they'll break you. But the game can end on a 1 or a 2. If you're broken, any side is broken. And if you roll that magical 1 or a 2, and you're broken, your enemy's not, but you've got everyone and their mother surrounding the objective still, you're going to win by 7 points. Sure, you're going to give them 3 points, and this is assuming neither of you have lost or wounded each other's warlords. Or leaders, should I say. But you'll be winning 7-3. and that's a very easy win. It literally, you just heroic march your way right up into the centre as quickly as you can with everyone you've got, and just sit on the objective and go on then, break me. And it's fantastic against armies like Ents, because it's very low model count. Yeah, they're going to struggle. Any kind of high points hero list, like, I mean, I don't know if many people play Grey Company competitively. I've never seen it because they're not very competitive, in my opinion. But if you're going against things like that, or the Rangers, Rangers of the North, anything that is highly elite, even like Dead of Dunharrow, they're quite elite compared to Goblin Town anyway. So yeah, you'll get broken. The only problem with that is you want to have a solid leader or warlord very close to the objective to keep the his stand fast going off, so all your guys don't run away because they're only goblins. That's the only problem with goblins. You don't have many good heroes. Like the Goblin King's only like courage 3 as well, but you just save up your will. Failing that, any of the other Horde factions do have a some kind of leader that can perform a stand fast, and the Goblin King is a hero of legend, so his first stand fast is for free. So happy days. Yep, again, really cheesy. You'll annoy your opponent, but you'll still win. So you go, haha, I'll see you later. The next tactic I've got is quite cheeky. It's not really about holding or defensive tactics. It is more offensive, but there's a bit of trickery behind it. Because this works as well, and I have used it twice that I can think of in events, and it has worked. It has absolutely worked. It's very cheeky. So, in one of my previous videos, I talked about the feint push, or feint charge, whatever you want to call it. I call it the feint push, where you charge, so it really works for Fog of War. So, you need to grab a building, right? And the opponent has to guess which building you're going for. And I suggested throwing all your troops at one building and chucking a one little unit to the real one, or holding them in reserve to go and grab the real building. If you're playing against another player who's rather savvy, like yourself, because obviously you're savvy if you're watching Shadow Wraith, then what you can do is absolutely chuck all your guys at your real objective. Okay? All your guys at your real objective, the building you really want to take. But then send maybe one or two, maybe you can probably get away with just one cavalry to the other building. And make sure it's rather far away from where all the action's happening, just so your opponent will think, is he actually trying to trick me? He's chucked all his troops at this building, like you can see in the image here, but in reality he's going for this. And it gives them a choice. They can either go and chase the red heron, which is your cavalry model going for the building that doesn't matter, or they can hold ground, or they can split their forces. Obviously, we want them to either go for the red heron or split their force. If they just stand there and hold that building, then that's up to them. You'll just have to have a normal fight. But I just thought it was quite funny, because I've had it done to me as well. So I just thought it'd be quite funny to share. The last little tactic I want to share with you is how to fully envelop your enemy's formation in one swift turn. And this works exceedingly well with things like Iron Hills, because they're slow and they like to stick in their shield wall and have their formation. It works with Easterlings, Pipe Blocks, Isengard, and Minas Tirith as well. It works a little bit better for some of the factions that aren't as flexible. So Minas Tirith, I think, are quite flexible with the units they can bring. Iron Hills are slightly less, but they do have Goat Riders, so they could have some cavalry support. And Isengard, there aren't too many people who bring that many wargs, and even if they do, they're usually off trying to do something else. But you can still overcome it. It's fine. And I bring you to this image. Right, what's going on here? You're both staring at each other. Okay, you've got your little formation here. It looks like you're gearing up for a fight. And what I like to do is I either like to stick a hero in the centre behind my ranks, okay, or a cheap hero, a captain will do. A captain, the cheapest captain you can. And if you can stick him on cavalry, even better. On the wings, okay? You can even have a captain in the centre. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a high tier hero. I like to always try and bring some cav in most of my lists. So I'm going to include cav in this one. It's not necessary. Like, it's not going to be do or die, but it just makes it a hell of a lot easier for you. And if you're playing evil, you can get some pretty cheap cav. Yeah, so it's quite nice. And once you envelop something super tough like Iron Hills, sure, they're like defense 8, sure, they're higher fight than most orcs, but let's go off Morannon orcs here, so we're strength 4 anyway. We're playing with Morannon orcs, we've got a couple of Warg Riders, and we've got a Orc Captain on a Warg. On either of the wings, or just in the centre, it's up to you. Depends how many points you want to invest in this little manoeuvre. And all you want to do is use probably one of the... not too rare, it's more rare. Heroic actions that people use, and it's Heroic March. I love Heroic March, I use it all the time, and it has definitely won me games, so don't forget about Heroic March. So, you Heroic March with your captain/captains, and it does work quite well if the enemy's got priority, because they'll just charge into your front rank like they would, because that's the best for their formation. They don't really care too much about getting flanked. But, if you call 2 Heroic Marches, it's going to be pretty scary. If they don't have priority, then you can still do this anyway, because they'll still be encircled. And then they've got one option, charge you or charge you. So yeah, call 2 Heroic Marches, or 1, and your wings will swing round to the back, your infantry, and you should have enough move with the Heroic March. You can use the drum for this as well if you really want, but drums are stupid expensive. In my opinion anyway. Swing round behind them, so your 2 wings of infantry will try and get right round behind them, and your cavalry will then move after them and hit them in the flanks. Obviously you can stick your cavalry behind them as well, but I just tend the infantry's got the movement to do it, and so have your cavalry, so it's either or, infantry or cavalry. I've gone with infantry at the back. And you can usually, if it's only 2 ranks deep, you can usually get, you know, spear support and sword and board guy up front as well. So you'll have sword and board, spear support up front, sword and board, spear support behind them, and then 2 cavalry in the either flank. You can't charge them, so you literally stop just outside their control zone, and sit there. And if you had priority, then they can choose, yeah, sure, I'll charge. In which case, they're still surrounded. But yeah, but if they've charged your front rank, you can really do some havoc and stay an absolute, like a perfect inch behind them, and try and get everyone an inch behind someone and give them nowhere to back off fully without getting into your control zone. And then all the fights at the front, if you win them, if you've got Morannon orcs, you will trap them and you'll get double strikes on them. And trust me, once you start getting double strikes, they just fall like flies. 100%. I do this with Corsairs of Umbar, partnered up with some Serpent Horde, because they're green allies, because their riders are pretty cheap, they're Haradrim riders, and yeah, as soon as I trap people with my Corsairs, they just chew them, because they're +1 to wound. If they're Reavers, it's +2 to wound, if they go mental, which you will make them go mental in combat. So, yeah, you really chew through absolutely anything. And if you play Corsairs of Umbar and you do this, you will absolutely decimate them. And all it takes is, you know, a couple of cav, so Haradrim Raiders or Riders, whichever one, and your Corsairs up front, and the flanks of Corsairs that will go up round behind them. Perfect. If they've got, you know, Dane Ironfoot for some reason in infantry form in there as well, even better. If they've got Boromir sat at the back, he might cause you some trouble, in which case I'd probably try and send the cav towards him. But this works with just generic blobs of infantry led by a captain that you want to envelop and destroy, because once you destroy one of these, they lose a big portion of their army, and it's very sad for them. It's quite funny for us. But yeah, this works. This is what I do. This is how I trap people in Middle-earth strategy bout game, especially with Corsairs of Umbar. Heroic March, and I usually try and have 2 captains, because it just gives me more might and more flexibility. But if you don't have the points, you can probably pull it off with 1 captain, because you don't have to stick with them or anything like that. They don't have to move first. So yeah, there you are. You're welcome. Hopefully these are helpful, and if they are helpful, do let me know. I'd love to hear if you actually apply any of these into your games and find out they do work. If they don't work whatsoever, tell me how they went wrong and what happened, because it might be that I missed out something that I was meant to mention. I don't think I have, but it's a maybe. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like, because that means I know people like this kind of content. And if you're feeling especially saintly today, do hit that subscribe button. Even if you don't do any of them, I still hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. you.